What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. I got a little bit of extra for you today for May 27th, 2021. WWE is certainly keeping me on my toes this week with all of the news. We're going to get right into it, but first, if you guys are not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Turn on that bell for all notifications. If you guys want to hit that thumbs up, I would greatly appreciate it. Let's try for 1,000 likes on today's video. And if you're not following me on social media, go and do that. Twitter and Instagram at JD from NY206. WWE announces 3 more dates and cities to their summer tour as we gear up for SummerSlam. WWE issued the following statement from Titan Tower in Stamford, Connecticut. Friday, July 23rd, SmackDown from the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in Cleveland. Monday, July 26th, Monday Night War at the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City, Missouri. And Friday, July 30th, SmackDown from the Target Center in Minneapolis. So that is on top of what WWE has happening in Dallas, added tour dates. So if you guys are in those markets and want to foolishly spend your money on Monday Night Raw, then by all means, go spend your money for 3 hours to fall asleep in the venue when you could easily do that at home with a nice, fluffy pillow. I'm just happy that WWE is getting back in front of fans. I'm happy to see things normalizing nowadays because, like I said before, and I'm always going to say it until we get back to things being normal, WWE has lived in their own bubble. They don't know what to do anymore, and they don't have that essence. They don't have that, I guess, backing voice from the fans. They're doing what they want. They're pushing who they want. They don't know who's over, who's not over, what's good, what's not good. On a normal day, they don't know those things, but with live fans, I want to see Alexa Bliss start shooting fireballs and doing magic on Monday Night Raw. I want to see them bury people that WWE fans actually want to see on Monday night and think that are going to make Monday Night Raw better. So WWE living in their own bubble comes to an end. I think it's been more negative than anything for the product during this pandemic era. Paul Heyman drops a major hint about Brock Lesnar's WWE return. Now, we all know Paul Heyman is a part of the best act in all of professional wrestling right now, and that is the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. But Paul Heyman is also affiliated with somebody else named Brock Lesnar. Now, somewhere along the way in this pandemic era, I'm sure it was discussed why Brock Lesnar is not back on WWE television. WWE could offer him X amount of money. He'd be okay with it. He comes back, he does what they ask, and then boom, Brock Lesnar's back on WWE television. But like I said, somewhere along the way, Paul Heyman probably did say in numerous interviews and podcasts or publications that Lesnar won't come back to WWE unless fans are back in full capacity. Plus, I also think that Lesnar doesn't want to wrestle in front of the virtual geeks. He doesn't have to. I don't know why you would want him to. I don't know why anybody would want to. Plus, I do think with fans back in attendance that Brock Lesnar, if he comes back and fans are in 100% capacity, I think that means more of a payday for Brock Lesnar. So that is definitely where he is thinking mentally. Now, as far as Brock Lesnar, he hasn't been seen on WWE television since WrestleMania 36. He dropped the WWE title to Drew McIntyre. Fans continue to wonder since last year if Lesnar will ever return to the company. There were rumors that Tony Khan, now finding out that Brock Lesnar was a free agent, that he would swoop on in and take Brock Lesnar, sign him to a big AEW contract. That is not happening, ladies and gentlemen. If there is one place he's going, it is right to Paul Heyman and right to Vince McMahon in WWE. Now, while speaking to Houston radio station Sports Talk 790, Paul Heyman talked about Brock Lesnar's possible return to the company. Heyman hinted that Lesnar could have been waiting for the return of live fans and might be coming back during the Houston live events. He says, and I quote, "Asking me about Brock Lesnar is a highly intelligent question, and I commend you on your efforts," talking to the host. "However, it's a hypothetical. Brock Lesnar does what Brock Lesnar wants to do. Brock Lesnar wanted to be back in WWE at this moment, at this particular time and place. He would be. Maybe he's just been waiting for the live events, and maybe he'll choose Houston to make that return, or maybe not, because Brock Lesnar is going to do whatever Brock Lesnar wants to do, end quote. Now, I don't know if Lesnar is coming back in the imminent future. You would imagine with SummerSlam happening that WWE is going to call upon everybody, because in Las Vegas, to fill 60,000 seats, if they really do go into that type of stadium in Las Vegas for SummerSlam, you are going to need all hands on deck. And I mean Lesnar, Cena, you name it, Edge, to come on back and help WWE sell 60,000 tickets in what should be the biggest party of the summer. But it also sounds like in this interview with Paul Heyman, like he was just shilling WWE and shilling the, I guess, idea that WWE's back in front of live fans, and you need to buy a ticket because Brock Lesnar could show up, and if you don't buy a ticket, then you're going to miss out on Brock Lesnar's return. This seems to be Paul Heyman doing a sell job to get tickets sold to the WWE events in the Texas area. So that's all that is. Do I see Brock Lesnar definitely returning to the company? Absolutely. Do I think it's going to be this year? Possibly. I mean, Bobby Lashley, if he drops the WWE Championship to Drew McIntyre, in my opinion, it will happen at Hell in a Cell. I mean, you want to sell SummerSlam out? You're going to bring Lesnar back, and you're going to pair him with Bobby Lashley. Lashley's been booked like a monster for the duration of the last year and a half. That is the match you got to do at SummerSlam. No politics. Get what you got to get done. Do it, and give the fans something to be excited about, because we waited a year and a half for fans to come back in this capacity, and you need to make that SummerSlam card legitimately, with their resources it could, the best SummerSlam card of all time. That's what they need to do. So I think Paul Heyman was just selling the aspect of Monday Night Raw and SmackDown and Money in the Bank in the Texas area, and that's all it is. But I do think Lesnar is going to be in discussion for a possible return at SummerSlam, and Bobby Lashley is the only guy I want to see him go up against at SummerSlam. Speaking of returns, The Undertaker drops a cryptic hint on Instagram. As you guys know, The Undertaker retired at the Survivor Series last year in one of the most lame retirements that I have ever seen for a WWE superstar. He walked down the... First of all, his friends walked down the aisle. Some of them dressed in wrestling gear, like Kane. They walked down the aisle. They all stood in the ring. The Undertaker came out. They all disappeared. Undertaker walks out, has a fucking 18-minute entrance. He gets in the ring, says, "It's time for me to rest in peace." Walks up the aisle, fire goes off. That's the end of Survivor Series. Not really what I call a retirement for The Undertaker. I think The Undertaker would want more than just that and virtual geeks inside the Thunderdome. More like a WrestleMania in front of 80,000 people is what The Undertaker is looking for. But he dropped this cryptic hint on Instagram. The Undertaker, like I said, wrestled his final match at WrestleMania 36 in the Boneyard match against AJ Styles, the pinnacle of all the cinematic matches for the pandemic era. He claimed retirement after that, stuck to it. Farewell at Survivor Series, which we just talked about, signaled the end for The Undertaker's in-ring career. But was that his final chapter? The Phenom dropped a very interesting and cryptic Instagram message for all of his fans. Now, while sharing a picture of himself working out, he talked about another door opening for him. It's kind of a clever play on words there, Mark. What's going on, Mr. Calloway? Are you walking through the forbidden door of AEW? Have you signed a contract with Tony Khan? Have you challenged Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship? Will The Undertaker be battling Kenny Omega at All Out Labor Day weekend for the AEW Championship? Will Kenny Omega bring The Undertaker to a solid 4-star match? Will The Undertaker win the AEW World Championship and kill AEW from within, as The Undertaker was sent by Vince McMahon to do his dirty work? I'm getting you excited, aren't I? No, that's not happening. No, that is definitely not happening. But he talked about another door opening for him. We have no idea what this means, but clearly, if you watched his Instagram page, you saw a picture of him working out. What is he working out for? Does this mean that he's working out to get everybody prepared for his new venture as a coach, as a trainer inside the Performance Center for NXT talent? Or is he training because the door opening up actually means that they have plans for him at SummerSlam? That WrestleMania door closed because it was the only door open at the time. Now this new door is opening, and maybe we get the AJ Styles match that both of those guys wanted originally at WrestleMania at SummerSlam with 60,000 in Las Vegas. What do you think about that? That could be the new door opening for The Undertaker. Vince called him up and said, listen, Mark, I got an idea for you. Why don't you come to Connecticut? We'll talk numbers, and then we'll book the match and get you on TV at your earliest convenience. It would kind of shit over the farewell, but I don't really consider it a real retirement anyway, because if you look at the body of work for 30 years of The Undertaker and call that a retirement, you may be a fucking idiot. I don't think that The Undertaker really wants to hang his hat legitimately on that retirement. Could be another match at SummerSlam. He says this on Instagram: when one door closes, another door opens. The game may be over for me, but the grind never ends. End quote. I don't know. Now, there was news that he has an invitation to coach at the Performance Center, be a part of Triple H's team. It could be that. Could be a match again at SummerSlam. Going back on his word yet again. We don't know. So this is going to be another interesting story to keep an eye on. Will The Undertaker wrestle at SummerSlam? I expect those rumors to be a thing as we get closer to SummerSlam in August. Tom Phillips. I could make a crude joke about Mr. Tom Phillips, but I'll refrain because I want to be a little bit professional here on OTS Extra. Tom Phillips is gone from the WWE. Fired. He can join Adnan Virk on the unemployment line. Tom Phillips released by WWE. This was the news that I woke up to this morning. Quite shocking, to say the least. Tom Phillips did a very good job in his commentary role all over WWE, whether it was with SmackDown, Monday Night Raw, NXT. The guy was always a good hand in that role. I actually preferred him over Michael Cole, but that's just my opinion. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select reports the news today. WWE has yet to confirm the news, and it did later come out that they did fire Tom Phillips. He is the latest person released by the WWE after the company has let go of wrestlers, referee, and staff members. Phillips started working for WWE in 2012 as a backstage interviewer. He had also done announcing on Raw, like I said, SmackDown, NXT, NXT UK, main event, Superstars, and I believe after they pulled him from Monday Night Raw to give that position to Adnan Virk, they moved him to 205 Live. That is absolutely a clear indication that a demotion happened for Tom Phillips. Phillips was the lead play-by-play for Raw from January 2020 until this April. He replaced Vic Joseph in that role until he was moved and replaced by Adnan Virk, who just fully agreed to part ways mutually with the WWE. Bullshit. They were going to fire him anyway, and they decided, let's mutually part so nobody looks bad here. So he was gone as of this week as well. I got news on that. And with this firing of Adnan and Tom Phillips, WWE has already announced their new lead announcer, their new lead play-by-play for Monday Night Raw. Former UFC and Bellator commentator Jimmy Smith will join Corey Graves and Byron Saxton this Monday night on Raw. The news was first reported by Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer. WWE has previously brought in Smith for some takeover pre-shows, and Michael Cole has been working with him, so it appears the company was preparing him for an announcing role anyway. Meltzer noted that Cole has given Smith a lot of praise and found him to be very versatile. Now, Michael Cole, he can't do everything, but Michael Cole is the director of all commentators in WWE. So the fact that he was working with him, you could expect Jimmy Smith to be, oh, on Monday Night Raw. Night one, you're going to be hearing oohs and ahs to sell the storylines in WWE. Smith is very respected amongst MMA fans, and he is familiar with the current wrestling product, so he should have an easier time making the transition to pro wrestling, but it remains to be seen how he deals with all of the innuendos and rumors about Vince McMahon screaming into the headset, being a WWE announcer, having Vince in your ears for a 3-hour show. We have to see how he adapts to that type of environment. Smith is also a former MMA fighter with a 5-1 record, but his days in the MMA cage ended when he began broadcasting in 2007. In addition to UFC and Bellator, Smith also did commentary for Invicta events. Now, I listened to Jimmy Smith on these pre-shows for NXT. I didn't really gauge anything there. So after the announcement, which was made yesterday, I went out and I did some research on him being an analyst and him calling matches for UFC and Bellator and all that stuff. I will say this. He is infinitely better than Adnan. Number one. Number two, he's got a much better combat sport voice than Adnan Virk, okay? Is it Adnan or Adnan? Either way, who cares? He's gone. He's got a much better combat sport voice than Adnan Virk, okay? But I will say this. It's about the environment of WWE. They will be back in front of live fans. He may come off better in front of live fans than the Thunderdome. We don't know yet. But I wonder what the feeling is surrounding this position and him taking this position. Something surfaced on social media, which was said back on June 25th, 2019, from Jimmy Smith's official Twitter account. And I'm going to read you what he said here, and I quote, "I haven't watched pro wrestling since I was in grade school. The only thing that would bring me back would be Chael Sonnen as a manager in the WWE. He'd be the best heel mouthpiece since Bobby the Brain Heenan." End quote. Well, it certainly looks like you're a part of the WWE product now. That paycheck must have been very, very substantial, Mr. Jimmy Smith. Man, what a paycheck would do to change somebody's mind. Now, I wonder, even though he has a great combat sport voice, he may fit the role better than Tom Phillips and Adnan Virk. We don't know yet, but by the looks of it and by the sound clips that I've heard and the videos that I've seen, he seems to be a better fit. But is the genuine feeling of wanting to be a commentator going to be there? Are you going to emit that emotion to the product, that emotion that the product needs, that emotion that we need as fans for you to tell these storylines? Is all of that going to be there? Or are you just taking this position because you were paid handsomely by the McMahons? I wonder. Because a tweet like that doesn't really scream, hey, I want this position because I love commentary and I love WWE and I want to tell stories and I actually want to be there. That tweet says, hey, pay me, I'll come and do your job that nobody else wants and we'll see what happens. That's my problem. That's where I draw the line. Now, I seen this tweet after I said, you know what? I think this guy sounds good. So I'm going to be paying very close attention to Jimmy Smith on Monday to see how genuine he really does sound and how genuine he really does come across on TV. Now, with Adnan, WWE, they were already over Adnan after just a couple of weeks. They knew they had a terrible, terrible commentator, and they made a very bad decision here. Actually, before the last Monday Night Raw, maybe 2 weeks before the last Monday Night Raw, which was this week, they already made a decision that they were going to get rid of him. So all the reports are saying mutually parted ways. I want you guys to once again understand that Adnan was fired by WWE because he didn't cut it as a commentator. He may be great for the NHL, he may be great for the MLB, but he doesn't come across well in a combat sports environment. I don't know why Nick Khan went to bat for his friend. I don't know why we need to change that aspect of Monday Night Raw when Tom Phillips was just fine. Who knows? Maybe this works out with Jimmy Smith. But I think Nick Khan needs to stay back and stop worrying about what needs to be fixed on Monday Night Raw, because there are much bigger problems than just the commentary team. Like Adnan says, I think we're going to need a bigger boat. Give me a break. I'm going to keep a very close eye on Jimmy Smith come Monday Night Raw, but there's so many changes going on that it's very difficult to keep up with what's going on. How many of you knew that Jimmy Smith was hired? I doubt half of you did. That's why I'm here. Moving on with the rest of the news, guys. Eva Marie. Eva Marie. Red is my least favorite color. WWE has been airing vignettes to hype the return of Evolution, Eva Marie, on Monday night since earlier this month. None of these vignettes have been wrestling related at all. I don't know whether I'm watching Eva Marie photo shoot for a swimsuit edition or a modeling gig, getting ready for a movie. Everything but pro wrestling, Eva Marie. That's her new name. Evolution? No. Eva, anything but wrestling, Marie. God, I hope this fails beyond recognition. But how does WWE plan to use Eva Marie? Fans have been wondering what WWE's plans are after these vignettes have been airing for near a month. It is being reported that Marie has been training with NXT recruit Parker Bordeaux, the new Brock Lesnar, the new next big thing in WWE, down at the Performance Center. She did wrestle during her first tenure in WWE, which was a complete failure. Fightful Select reports today that the working plan is not for Eva Marie to wrestle, but to use her as a vehicle to help get another female talent over. That's what they report. It is said that the deal to bring Marie in was worked on for a long time before her vignettes actually aired. It was added that her returning to TV had no impact on WWE releasing other women's wrestlers due to her signing with the company last year. That doesn't really make any sense to me. Oh, yeah, we hired her back in December, so what we did back then has no impact on what we did just this past April. Of course it does. What are you, fucking stupid? Who believes that shit? WWE is going to tell you one thing because they don't really want you to know the legit truth. Eva Marie may have been signed back in December, but her name shows up on the fucking payroll. They're not going to fire her after they just hired her and put money into Eva Marie. They're not going to let her go. They're going to look at who they have. They're going to say, oh, we signed her, but we like her, so we didn't do anything with her. We can't get rid of her. What about we get rid of Mickie James and Peyton Royce and Billie Kay? So they made room to afford Eva Marie. They made room so that her contract and her name on the payroll spreadsheet doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. Give me a break. Why is it so difficult to figure these things out? Do you really believe everything that you hear? Man, if I was reporting news like that, I'd be ashamed of myself, to be honest with you. WWE's been using the term evolution as a tagline in these vignettes, which WWE filed a trademark for this month. Who is Eva Marie going to work with that you legitimately care about? She's going to work with Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke. Yeah, that's going to get over. We don't like either one of those two women in the roles that they have right now. Dana Brooke, nobody likes, period. But Mandy Rose, she had a ton of potential when she was paired with Sonya Deville. I don't know what Eva Marie's going to do to bring more awareness to anybody on the main roster. Anybody that gets paired with Eva Marie is probably going to play shadow to Eva Marie. Eva Marie's not some big fucking main event Hall of Fame talent that you're bringing in to get somebody else over. Eva Marie's coming in to steal the spotlight from whoever they pair her with. This is a failure any way you look at it. If she's in the ring, failure. You pair her with anybody, you're associating that person with failure. I can't wait till this bombs. I'm going to sit here just calmly sipping my coffee, and I'm gonna sit back with my fucking shades on, and I'm gonna say, you know what? Who was right all along from day one? Then I'll raise my hand and laugh like fucking Seth Rollins. Anyway, guys, I'm getting out of here. Thank you so very much for joining me on today's OTS Extra. I will be back tomorrow live on YouTube with the SmackDown post show, and then we got a major podcast on Saturday, the flagship episode 378 of the podcast. Major SummerSlam main event being planned. I got all the news, and we're gonna calmly come up with an epic SummerSlam card so that it really does feel like the biggest party of the summer. Hit that subscribe button down below, turn on the bell for all notifications, and make sure you guys follow me on social media at JD from NY206. That's Twitter and Instagram. Thank you guys so very much, and I'll see you back tomorrow night live for the SmackDown post show on OTS. See you guys then.